Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast. Welcome to Glenaville Manarang's Talk. Today, I'm not really sure the title of this topic, but I think it is fair to say that healing journey is a lonely road for you to take. Because let's face it, no one is going to hold your hands most of the time. And nobody is going to participate in your healing journey because most people are avoidant, coward, and plain lazy, or cowardly, just trying to ignore the demons that they have been burying deep within their core. And so you think to yourself, why is it that when you're actually healing, people think you're cold or distant? Or maybe they think that you are very stuck up. We probably were accused of those kind of labeling before, as I have, because once you have healed completely and you have boundless boundaries that you no longer tolerate some kind of nonsense from other people, of course, they would rather want you to be the person like you were. Naive, gullible, and don't you dare calling people out. Okay? Because once you were stupid and dumb and unaware of the mind games of narcissistic people and you just participated in it because you were not aware that actually you were being picked and that you were actually gang up on to be the victim of their charade, the victim of their, amusement. And so, of course, you somehow were constantly saying yes, always showing up for people who never valued your existence and always like to please other people. They would rather want to have that kind of person, no? But the moment you say no and you have boundaries and you decided to speak up the truth and to expose their darkness, all of a sudden, you only have few people that like you because now you're being difficult. Now you are not agreeable as you used to. And now people deem you as odd. Why do you think that is? Because majority of people would rather want you to roll like a dog. When they say, here, catch, and roll over, that's exactly what happens. So now you're trying to decipher who are the people that I should trust with. Where do I fit myself into the molds? Guess what? When you are awakened and you have actually fully healed and you're no longer getting triggered left and right like you used to, it doesn't matter who you hang out with. Because as I said, would you rather be with someone who is not healed and you're constantly trying to redirect them and correct them and try to help them grow because they're not willing to grow? Yes, it's rather lonely at times that you only have fewer friends and you're very careful that you choose the kind of people that will sit on your table. What the Bible says is very clear. You cannot sit with the scoffers because you become a scoffer themselves. You cannot be sitting idly with the foolish people because the conversation is not going anywhere. Therefore, if you are healed from your trauma, don't be surprised that people are going to label you or paint you as the difficult, stuck up, distant, cold, whatever kind of labels they would like to throw in your face. Because as I said, if you were the person that was not yet healed, you are just most likely going to do whatever they want you to do and never really say no and never would question things, or you just want to keep the peace. But there's no peace with a lie. There's no such thing as keeping the peace when you're living a lie and you're not calling people out for their disbehavior or misbehavior or their demeanor that is out of character, right? The moment you are going to expose the darkness and their bad deeds that they've been doing, like manipulative tactics, gaslighting, controlling, all of a sudden they actually cannot stand you and they cannot really picture you that you're gonna somehow wake up one day and realize to themselves that, oh my gosh, what happened? What just happened? That she suddenly is trying to expose me and put me in my place and try to ask questions of why am I doing this? Because we are conditioned as a society that we should tolerate people and never ask questions. The problem with being tolerable to people is that they'll never grow up. If you tolerate your kids to keep doing the same thing, stealing perhaps from your pocketbook, like $5 here and there, $10, over time, if you're not correcting your kids to, instead of taking money from my purse, you should ask me for the money. Because if you're not correcting your kid to ask you instead of going to your pocketbook without asking your permission, you're teaching them to steal from you. Even though they're your kids, and even though you love your children and you're going to give them the moon and the stars, and you're going to do anything for your kids, but if you're not correcting their behavior, that you're just allowing them and tolerating them to steal money from your pocketbook, that is actually telling them and programming them that's saying, well, I guess it's okay for my mother to steal from her purse and to just get some money without asking her permission first. So in the same way, if we're not correcting people, if we're not calling them out, if we're just tolerating people for their abusive and the same cycle, and you never call them out of their misbehavior and misdemeanor, we are saying something like, okay, I think I'm just going to be a doormat here and I'm going to let you abuse me over and over again. That is not wise, and that is actually unacceptable. Because as I said, Jesus was very controversial. Jesus was a man that not only he said he was a peacemaker, he was the Prince of Peace, and he still is the Prince of Peace, but he was not afraid to call people out on their faces. Remember what happened to the Pharisees and the scribes and the high priests in his days? What did he call them? Hypocrites. You are a bunch of hypocrites. You dressed up on the outside, on the synagogue, in the marketplace, shaking hands with people, but you are brood of vipers. You are wicked through and through. I can see right through your heart. So why is it that when we are Christians, we're not supposed to ruffle some feathers and we're supposed to just always be loving and understandable? Not really the case when you want to correct people because you want them to grow up. It also says in the Bible that lover of sin, they will conceal it. Jesus also said that people who are sinning, they don't want to go into the light because they don't want their dark deeds to be exposed. So I rather want you to correct me, because a lover's kiss is better than an open rebuke. An open rebuke is to correct you, to expose you, so that you're going to grow up and learn that what you're doing is unacceptable. It is not right. Lying is not right. Cheating is not right. Manipulating people is actually not right. And also what did the Bible says? There are things that God hates. 7 things, I think, if I remember my memory correctly. Haughty look, prideful heart, a lying tongue, a person who likes to create conflict, a person who is divisive, a person that is actually trying to use other people, usurp other people, bribing other people. These are detestable in the eyes of God. So if you are healing and you are actually being awakened by the power of the Holy Spirit in you, therefore you do not tolerate sin, because sin, when it's not corrected, it becomes infecting. Okay, it infects. It is like a cancer that eats away your bones, that is actually going to affect how you think and how you are going to deal with people. And so healing is very lonely at times, because as I said, many people would rather want to be complacent, and how dare you correct them, and how dare you ask them a question of why are you not willing to change? What is wrong with you for staying stagnant? Because we all know people are lazy, right? People would rather want to be the victim, play the victim. Woe is me. I keep on saying the same thing over and over again, that many people are like that in our lives. They would rather want to paint themselves as, I am hopeless, There's no hope for me. I can't change myself. I cannot change my life. Now, mind you, I did not arrive overnight here. It took me years and years of honest discussion with myself. It took me many, many sleepless nights and journaling and asking questions. What are the things that are not contributing to my well-being or making me grow as a better person? But many people refuses to do that. They refuse to look at themselves in the mirror. This is why Jesus said, before you judge someone, you must first of all look at yourself in the mirror, take out the speck out of your eye, take out the log out of your eye, assess yourself, do the inner work first of all, and then you can judge other people. But what do? We judge other people based on their external appearance, based on how they react towards you. We assume things that maybe this is how she reacts because she's really mean or she's very rude. We don't even know what's going underneath that. Before you judge someone, why they create this kind of boundaries or why they become aloof or they don't want to deal with you, maybe you should ask yourself the question, what did I do that she's no longer wanting to be with me? Did I prove myself being a person who take advantage of other people? Was I always been respectable of her time? Was I being considerate? Because there are things in life that when you keep giving people the benefit of the doubt and you keep making excuses for that bad behavior and you keep justifying, well, maybe this time they're going to be different. Maybe this time they're going to change. And over time, you just realize that these people are actually not willing to change. So what are you going to do then? Are you just going to keep tolerating their bad behavior? Are you just going to keep on justifying and make excuses for their bad choices? Of course not. You just have to understand that there are people in our lives that they're not willing to do the work. They want to be in their pubescence and be stuck in their immaturity level. This is why it also says that when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I reasoned like a child. I actually thought like a child. But there are things in our lives, and there's supposed to be a point in our lives that when we become an adult, we should stop acting like a child and stop acting like a toddler and start being an adult. Having an adult mind, it takes a lot of time. It's renewing of your mind. It is about embracing that you must do the work. You must be able to have accountability and stop justifying your sin and calling it good, even though it's a sin in the eyes of God, and actually saying to yourself, well, you know, why this person is willing to correct me and assume things that I am just not going to do anything with this matter. Well, the problem with people who accuses you of something, assuming, are the same people that is doing the same thing. So for instance, if a person says, why do you judge me or assume things? Most likely they're actually the most judgmental people. They are the worst kind of people. The very people that accuses you of some kind of thing that you're doing, most likely they are doing it themselves. This is why it's important that before you point the finger, you must first of all look at your life, examine your heart, that if you're not doing the same thing towards other people. It is a reminder that sometimes it is kind of hard for people to interact with you because now you're very high strung. When I am going through my healing journey, I thought to myself, am I being too much? Do I have to lower my standard? Do I have to be more agreeable? Because now people probably are perceiving me that I'm kind of like high on whatever almighty, that I'm very hard to reach. It's not that. It's just people's standard are very low. And you must not lower your standard because you're trying to please people. People, as I said, are not willing to go up higher. They want to just be stagnant. They want to be in the same old drama, same old pattern, complaining and play the victim, in the same old saga, gossip, and complain about their pathetic life. That's what they want. So let them be. So if you think that you're the problem because your standard is too high, no, you're not the problem. The problem is the people around you who are not a willing participant to change something about the trajectory of their life. It's not your job. It is not your fault that people cannot see the value that you contribute to the table. Because as I said, they would rather want you to be the same old person, gullible, stupid, and dumb and just play along because you don't want to ruffle feathers. These are the people, of course, are being abused, being misused, and being taken advantage of, right? The yes ma'am, yes sir, yes ma'am, yes sir, I'll do anything for you without questioning why you're doing something. So we cannot be ignorant that when you're trying to heal, of course you have a lot of questions in your life. You're going to think to yourself that maybe I am the problem, that I have all of this expectation from people, that my standard has changed. No, honey. You have learned that the world and the people in it are messed up in the head. The world is fine. The world was created perfect in the eyes of God. Nature is perfect. The galaxies are perfectly aligned wherever God had orchestrated it. But the people in it, the people that live in the world, are messed up. We have been born with a sin. We are not pure. We are defected by sin. And so therefore, you are going to deal with sinful men and women, especially those who are still blinded by their sin and who are constantly justifying their ego and their bad behavior. So of course, as what Jesus say, they're going to hate you, not because of you, it's because of what you represent. You represent light, the darkness will hate you. If you represent the truth, the liars will hate you. If you represent authenticity, who do you think is going to hate you? The fake ones, the ones who like to perform, the clowns in the circus. Therefore, if you think that you're too authentic in a world full of knockoffs, in the world full of fake, don't be surprised, because they would rather want you to perform, because if you perform and fake it until you make it, people are going to clap. The audience is going to love you and like you because you are fake. But at the end of the day, do you rather want to be real to yourself? Because the person that you're lying to is not really other people but yourself. Not only are you lying to God and yourself, also with the people around you. So if you think that healing is somehow hard, yes, it is hard. It takes a lot of dying to yourself day in and day out, stripping off the old bad habits and reframing your thinking and restructuring how you view your life and the world around you. Because guess what? That's what happens if you have been betrayed, abused, and misused by people around you. It will change you from the inside out. And that is why if you think that you're the problem, you're not the problem. The problem is people around you who are not willing to change, who are constantly doing the same old cha-cha and drama. And these are the kind of people that you should stay away from. That if you live with them, maybe limit your time with them, because they're not up to good. They are just going to live and die like that for the rest of their life. And you don't want to be in that part of the category, would you? Because you are not the problem, as I always like to say. They are the problem. The problem is that many people are refusing to do what it takes to heal. Because healing is not that easy. It takes a lot of coming home to yourself, reflecting in the dark room, crying, integrating your thoughts, journaling about it, talking to God about it. It seems as though you are going to be just a person that's an oddball. Because if you talk to yourself in the mirror, of course you're crazy, right? If you spend your time in the dark room or in your closet where you actually spend time with God, you wrestled with God like Jacob, of course you're odd. That's why many people that are numbing their pain, drinking, gambling, addictions, these are the kind of people who are avoidant. They don't want to face their demons because it's a lot easier to do that. But for many of us who are healing, that's why they will think of you as the oddball, you're the outcast, you're someone that we don't recognize. The moment you are on your healing journey and your view in life is different, of course you don't fit in anymore, because your standard is different. The way you view things is different now. The way you look at the world is different because of the experiences that you endure, the trauma that you have endured. Therefore, the way that you deal with life and you deal with other people, it is obviously not the same as you used to. So here it is. I'm going to read you Psalm 1, verse 4. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. So the difference between you and the people that are not willing to heal, that are foolish people, they are not going to prosper. But when you are the one who wants to prosper, is that you are not going to sit with the people that are going to drag you back to where you were before. That if you're addicted to something and you're going to go back to being addicted again, that's why it's no good. And if you have no self-control, that's why you have to avoid this kind of people. If you are trying to avoid getting drunk, maybe you should not hang out with the drunkards. If you're trying to not gamble, maybe you should not hang out with the gamblers. If you are addicted to shopping, maybe you should not befriend with people who are addicted to shopping or shopaholic. So, because it is important that we choose the circle of friends in our circle wisely and who sits at our table, because not everybody that sits at our table wants the best for you or who wants to see you grow. Sometimes the devil is very cunning, that he's going to situate people around you to either piss you off, provoke you, or test you whether you're actually true to what you said. So you have to be careful the kind of friends that you hang out with, that you surround yourself with, that if they are not helping you grow and thrive to become this person that you wanted to become, then you should lessen your time with them or maybe remove them altogether. And that's how boundaries work. I will talk to you next time, and I hope that you're blessed with this message. Be bold, be brave, and be courageous. Talk to you soon. Bye.